Mhm. Mm, maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. Here we go. Okay. Um, right. So for this evening's talk, um, well, Ayasobana gave me a prompt, um, which was never forget the Four Noble Truths. And so, you've all been reading the Mahati Padopama Sutta the past few weeks with Sariputta teaching about the Four Noble Truths. And she was reflecting on the backstory of how Sariputta came to be famous for teaching about the Four Noble Truths. There's another sutta, um, the Dhananjani Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 97, which is a sutta where Sariputta is known as the foremost in wisdom among the Buddha's disciples. He's a great teacher. And on this one occasion, he taught a Brahmin the way to union with Brahma. He taught him the Brahma Viharas, the divine abidings of loving kindness, compassion, appreciative joy, and equanimity. And this Brahmin, he taught him that as the Brahmin was passing away. And he passed away and was reborn in the Brahma realm, which is a very nice place to be. Um, but when Sariputta went and told the Buddha about it, the Buddha said, "Well, why did you stop there? Why did you get up and leave when there was more to be done?" Um, and so this was sort of a rebuke of a sort to Sariputta, maybe. Um, Depends on interpretation, but one interpretation is that it was a rebuke and that Sariputta from that time on never stopped short, never stopped when there was more to be done as a teacher. And that was how he came to always teach the Four Noble Truths. Um, and at least this is what Ayasobana told me as her inspiration for this evening, to always teach the Four Noble Truths, because those are really the core of the teachings of the Buddha. Um, and the simile from this sutta, the simile of the elephant's footprint, is that the elephant has the largest footprint of any being on the earth. Any other being's footprint can be contained within it. And so, the same way with the teaching on the Four Noble Truths, any other teaching within the Dhamma can be contained within that, can be related to that. So we can bring it into anything, anytime, and we should not forget it. No, want to make sure everybody knows what the Four Noble Truths are. Shall I give a brief overview? Um, so this was a core teaching of the Buddha, the first and sort of distinctive teaching of the Buddha. So the first noble truth is that there is suffering. There is suffering in this world, in this life. And our job about that truth is to understand it fully and clearly. The second noble truth is that there is a cause of suffering. It doesn't just happen for no reason. There is a reason why it happens. And specifically, the cause of suffering is craving, our wish for things to be other than they are, wanting things to be different than they are. Um, and then the third noble truth is the cessation of craving, the cessation of suffering, that this is possible. It is possible to end suffering entirely. And we are to realize this truth. That's our job. We are to realize that for ourselves. And then the fourth noble truth is that there is a path that leads to the cessation of suffering. The Buddha gave us a map and said, here's the way. If you want to do it, follow this path. You can do it. It's possible. This is a truth, a noble truth, that there is this path that leads in this direction and that is effective for you and for everybody, anybody who walks it sincerely. So that's the Noble Eightfold Path. And we don't have to go through all the lists and all the things today, but it's true. It's interesting. The fourth noble truth is the Noble Eightfold Path. And then the first element of the path is those truths themselves. Its right view is understanding those truths. So these teachings sort of fit together. And this sutta on the simile of the elephant's footprint is about how all the different teachings, all the different lists, the five aggregates and the six sense bases and the, the Buddha liked his lists, useful for meditation, for memorization, to have a list of something. If you know you've got 7 of something, then if you kind of count, okay, I got 1, okay, I'm missing 1, then that helps with memorization, right? But all of these different lists, all of these different teachings are contained and do come back to this teaching on the Noble Truths. So, as I said, we had some outings earlier today and we were driving back in the car and I was asking my companions in the car, like, okay, what Dhamma is helpful for you? And we were talking about how can we relate the Noble Truths to whatever. And, somebody talked about something going on in their own life and like talking about, okay, how can we relate this to that? How is this applicable? And I don't know, I think we managed to make it applicable. Yes. Okay, she's here. Nodding. Um, yes. This was a very specific situation that my car companion was bringing up, but these truths I think are universally applicable to these sorts of things. Even we get into our ideas about what is very specific, and like our own stories and our own. Whatever circumstances it is, it seems unique, and it is unique. We all have unique issues, but um, at the same time, they all come back to this. Um, we all have this basic dilemma that there is suffering. There is dukkha. Something isn't quite right. Something feels off. And sometimes we can distract ourselves from it. We can hide it. We can run away from it for a period of time. And, I think if you don't know that there's another way, then just sort of going for distraction and pleasantness as much as you can, that's sort of considered the good life, right? To have whatever kind of pleasantness there may be in life, whether that's on a surface level or on a deep level of, deep human connections and all of that. We think that that's the most meaningful thing there is. And I'm not trying to knock deep human connections. I'm not trying to knock even surface pleasures. But none of them are the solution to this basic problem that there is suffering. And we should not forget that. We should also not forget that there is a solution, that the suffering doesn't come without cause. And the wonderful thing about that is that then if the cause is removed, the suffering also can be removed. That the cessation is possible, that there is a path leading to the cessation. So this sutta, this meditation that I led you in earlier, that was an excerpt from the sutta. It's a much more to it than that. But what it's pointing at is one of the ways we get confused. We get confused about where our suffering is coming from. We get confused into thinking that this body, this mind, sort of needs protection, needs to be held together because it's us, it's ours, it's our core being. In some way, is bound up in the earth of this body, and the water and fire, and then all the things that come from the body when we have contact with the world, all the feelings and perceptions and things that come from that. Um, we get confused about those things, thinking they should be one way, thinking they should be another way, when we don't actually have control over thinking over how they should be. So this kind of contemplation, this kind of meditation on the elements, I personally have found very helpful over time. There's a number of suttas that have this, something like this contemplation in it, and my very most favorite one is the Maharahulovada Sutta. That's number Majjhima Nikaya 62. And for a while, I worked with that one as like a primary meditation practice, going through the contemplations in that sutta. But yeah, just I've personally found the elements so helpful, just to let go, let go of all of those things that we're holding on to and thinking are us. Um, have a little freedom from that, have a little space from that. Know that it's just stuff. And it's really a good basis for equanimity, I have found for myself. And I hope for all of you also. Hmm. And yeah, what else do I want to say here? I think I would like to open up for uh, whatever is alive for all of you. What is the Dhamma that is needed for you? And I'll try to relate it to the Four Noble Truths. If you want to bring anything up. Yes, Sochi.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the meditation. I think what I wanted to ask or contemplate or get a little bit of extra understanding from you is when we're doing the elements, for some reason, when we get to the air element, that one doesn't feel so like just let go, just it's not you. It just feels like, but that's keeping me alive. If I'm not breathing, I'm not alive. And I can't just like let go. Whatever happens, happens. I don't know. It's like it's a little different from the hardness, your bones, that's not
Right.
you. And I'm going through, and then you get to the air, and I'm like, but if I just try to hold my breath a little bit, I'm like, no, 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 this doesn't feel good at all. Anyway, you can
Yeah.
offer me.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, definitely the breath is so difficult to let go of, um, because it is so bound up with life. And the instruction is not to try to hold your breath, but yeah, to contemplate, like, what would it be to be, you know, I don't know, what would it be to be without breath? That is scary. And actually, one version of um, one teaching I've heard on the elements, Bhante Analayo's progression of meditations. He has this series of guided meditations on the Satipatthana, and he goes through the different Satipatthana foundations of mindfulness exercises or meditations. And he goes from the elements, including air, and then from that he goes on to death. He goes directly from that air contemplation to the death contemplation, which is another recommended practice of the Buddha, because it has that very definite link to it that, breath is what ties us to life. And to contemplate that, this could be my last breath. Each breath, it's always true. We never know when something terrible might happen. Um, and this is not to be morbid, not to be afraid,
Mhm.
but just to understand it's actually true that we don't know. Will we have another day? Will we have another meal? Will we have another breath? Um, we hope so, probably. Uh,
Mhm.
I wish for all of you to, have long and healthy lives. Um, Me too. But uh, but it's true that we don't know, and we can tie that contemplation to the breath. And the way to do that is just to acknowledge like the uncertainty of like breathing in. Um, this might be my last breath. Breathing out, relax and let go. And when I've done this, like for myself, it creates like this. When I really get into it, it's like it's actually sort of joyful. It's very vivid. There's a sort of aliveness in it because of the like uncertainty of like I don't actually know what's going to happen in the next moment. And if I don't know what's going to happen, then there's sort of this interest. There's this like, oh, even just this breath is interesting. Um, because I don't know. And it's sort of exciting. It's alive. It's revivifying because I truly don't know what's going to happen with the next breath. Um, and that brings me here and now to really engage with here and now because that's all we've really got. Um, so yeah, so
Okay.
you could experiment with that.
Yeah.
Um, but also, yeah, don't go too hard on yourself though. Um, if something feels overwhelming, which contemplating death absolutely can, contemplating being without breath absolutely can, then, take a break. Take a break. Give yourself a little kindness. You know, do it, do it in a way that is good for you. But I do recommend these practices. The Buddha recommended these practices, which is why I do. It's not my idea.
Okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, so I hope that's helpful. And yes,
That
absolutely.
that is helpful.
Mhm. Any other thoughts, sharing, anything anyone like to come in with? We have one in the room here.
I was just contemplating, we can look at the elements and internally and externally and feel how they're not ours. We're just temporarily claiming them as ours. And, with all of them, there's this cycle of the the earth element that we eat and consume and becomes part of our body, and then, part of it passes away. And there's sort of this like slow cycle of the earth element through our bodies and exiting, and maybe a little bit faster cycle of the water element that we consume and then passes through, and maybe even a little faster with the heat element of, we absorb heat from our environment and we digest food that then creates heat in the body. And actually the air element, I feel like in a way for me is almost the easiest, because it is just this like very visible cycling of like coming from the room and then cycling in as you breathe in and then cycling out. And it's just like so temporary, at least for that element, that part of the air element. It's just like so temporary that it's being claimed as mine and then it exits again. So for me, that one's almost a little bit easier. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think definitely these are good to experiment with, and certainly people will have different things that will stand out to them. Um, you know, And but yeah, I agree. The breath is really good for being clearly impermanent. In that each breath passes, but also being always present is an interesting quality of the breath. Those two qualities make it a really good meditation object, actually. Yeah. So, cute. Anyone else? Richard, yes.
Thank you, Ed. You were talking about the Four Noble Truths, and so when Buddha gave his first, what's considered to be his first talk um, to his five companions, Kondona had an insight, and he said, all dhammas, that are subject to arising, are also subject to cessation.
Mhm.
And this is the third noble truth. So he sees that you've taken birth because of craving. So this samudaya, this connected arising. So because you craved, you have a body, but you're not trapped. So many religions, or even just people who believe just in gross materialism, if you believe in gross materialism, you believe that you're kind of buffeted by the nature of the universe, uh, and those who are mostly religious think that there's a God or something, and you're buffeted by that God. He has a plan or something, he's controlling everything. But the Buddha's unique insight is that no, you are in complete control at all times and can free your mind anytime you want to do it. But you have to be able to accept that fact. So that's what Kondona sees. Oh, it's my own craving, the Four Noble Truths. It's my own craving that brought me here to this place. And I can cease that craving and stop that process like that. Another thing I'd like to mention is I have a slightly different take on that sutta
Mhm.
that you referred to with Sariputta in
Mhm.
the end.
Right.
I don't believe that Buddha was criticizing Sariputta. I think he was praising him highly, because after he questioned him, and he says, yes, Dhananjani has gone to the Brahma realm. Now, if you read the whole sutta, Dhananjani gains faith in everything and
Mhm.
considers Buddha, to be the blessed one. So he sends a servant on his deathbed to go and pay homage to the blessed one in my name, and to ask Sariputta if he would come and visit me. So obviously he's developed a great confidence in the teaching. And so in this way, when Sariputta is teaching him, and when he passes on, goes into the Brahma realm, he's not going to just disappear off into the void or
Mhm.
something in the Brahma realm. He's going to remember all those interactions with Buddha and his great disciples, and his confidence is going to grow tremendously. Because I'm of the opinion that a once returner means that they go to the Brahma realm, because that's the last possible birth. Buddha talks about there's four kinds of birth, and the subtlest is by a mano-made body, and Buddha says that when you perfect yourself in the fourth jhana, you can make a mano-made body perfect in all its limbs, capable of going to the Brahma realm. So that's the last of the 7 levels of heaven. Those are the 7 births of the Sotapan. You don't have to go through all, but if you do, you can gradually go through that. You get to that, and the formless realm is not a place of birth. It's just a place of abiding. There's no, the four types of birth Buddha talks about does not apply to the formless realm. So that's why when you get to the formless realm, as a Buddhist, as a non-returner, you don't return from that realm.
Mhm.
So talking about the breath, the bhikkhuni that was just speaking a moment ago, it's my opinion that the elements are represented in the body in terms of the earth element, right, is finally expunged through the rectum area. Water is basically expunged through the bladder. The stomach dissolves the food and pushes it down into the intestines through acid, which is considered heat. That's a form of heat. And now this is similar in a way to the chakras, but it's different in the sense that I don't believe that it's the heart chakra, it's the lungs where the air is. So you got your earth, you got your water, you got your fire, and you got your air. And then the throat, Buddha says, that's space. So you've gone through the elements, and now you've gone into space. And then as you rise your intelligence into the frontal lobes, that's cognition, right? So the body kind of mirrors the structure of the universe. And this is why, one of the reasons why Buddha praises so highly as the highest practice, the breath meditation, because if you focus on the breath sufficiently, it's right next to space. And so you can use that consciousness as like a tipping point to move beyond the physical realm into space in that way. Anyways, this is just a theory of mine, but it might be worth thinking about and contemplating a little bit if someone's interested in those things. So anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Any further thoughts anyone would like to share? Questions? Anyone in the room? Mima? Yes?
Mhm. When I first came onto this path, I was visiting a women's monastery up here in Yucca Valley. And this was the first thing that intrigued me about the path was the four elements, because I remember she pointed to a rock and she said, "What do you see in the rock?" And from that, just from that image of the rock, it was a symbol of the body. And yet, as time went on and I continued to speak to the bhikkhuni, she saw my personality or how I thought or whatever, or she just saw something in me, and she would take it to the emotional, the intellectual, the psychological. And that has always been helpful for me. So I relate the elements, kind of like Richard was saying about the body. I relate it to the psychological and the emotional. So that is how I use the four elements to self-regulate myself. Like with when I could feel the energy coming up or I get excited about something, I know that that's the air element. And sometimes I get carried away. And so it's kind of like trying to ground myself with earth. If I get angry, I know that's fire element. And so and something I learned about the four elements and how I apply it is that one of them can always be out of balance. And it's important to, with equanimity, to learn about the four elements to bring the internal into balance so that keeping the mind steady is critical in order, like for the health of the body, of the mind, and so forth in the practice. And so that's how I use the four elements to self-regulate and understand when something is out of balance. I've also noticed that my sister did something today. She purchased 2 dozen of eggs for me. She left them outside by my door for 2 hours. okay, an hour and a half. It just seemed like forever. But my point is that I could feel the agitation, the fire element, and I could feel like I was getting angry. And then this practice here is this is not me or mine. It's how I'm relating to the experience. And so that helps me to self-regulate myself. And I hugged her and I told her, we'll get through this, but you do need to keep them and get me some fresh eggs. And so she was in agreement with it. But the four elements, I think, can be used in so many different ways, to understand how to manage myself and my life.
Hmm.
So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, I think this is a useful meditation for the kinds of things you're saying. I think the descriptions of these four elements, if I understand correctly, are coming from like the medical understanding at that time, and still medical understanding in a lot of the traditional medical systems today are sort of based on these four elements and the understanding, and so then trying to bring them into balance, and for a variety of reasons for health of the body and of the mind is definitely one very useful thing to do with these. And I think, yeah, very wonderful to develop skill with that. I do also want to say, don't forget the Four Noble Truths. Um, these elements are impermanent. The balance within them is impermanent. This body will fall apart. This mind will fall apart. And so, to be using these skills and this balance in a way that's directed towards that realization, it's wonderful for that purpose. But that is the purpose, is to bring it to the equanimity and balance that will allow for the real liberation from all of this, from all of the dukkha associated with having a form, with having a mind. So yeah, but I'm glad this is a teaching that connects with you and that you're able to use in that way. That's wonderful. Um, okay, we're coming almost to the end of our time, but I see one more hand from Samaneri Niyada. Would you brief question?
Namaskaran, Acha. Thank you so much. What I want to share is the element that we said fire, earth, a wind, or those. It just kind of like two more like a remind. For me, I use as a reminding that all that is all in the earth. It's not us, because basically we born to caught up and hang on, cling it with self. Like this is my body, this is myself, this is my thing, So when you been through someone to throw, just kind of like come in and dump the trash on you with word, with or whatever, and you want to handle that. So this is the way I do. I just kind of, okay, whatever you want to say, hard or untrue about me, it's no me. It's just earth, fire, wind, and the water. It's not me in here. So go ahead, do whatever you want to do. I don't gonna feel anything. This is the way to kind of like you practice yourself to handle emotion, to not, throw back with the word or act or, the sense of anger. So you manage your anger with those. This is a trick that they use, and it's kind of work well. So thank you so very much for a little time.
Yes, sadhu, sadhu. I think that trick comes from the Buddha himself. I think he's giving that to
Yes.
all of us here. And so we can, yeah, little life hack from the Buddha, how to come out of that kind of anger, and also the greed, and also the delusion, and come to freedom. So really appreciating this teaching, appreciating all of you joining together today. And yes, thank you for your practice. Anumodana, I appreciate. And we can close by paying our respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. The Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. The teachings so completely explained by him, I bow to the Dhamma. The Blessed One disciples who have practiced well, I bow to the Sangha. Right. Thank you, everyone, and have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
Aya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.